however we see that through. Thank you very much, Ludwig, for inviting us. There were two. I'm fine here. If anybody's comfortable with me, okay. I don't think my face is worth seeing. Hopefully, the words. So I have two options: the long version and the short version. Looking at the size of the panel, I'll take the short version, and I'll leave with the organizers the stick with the long version. So the last image on Romanian's macroeconomic indicators you can get from the organizers after the conference. I'll just try to give you a few macro words, referring mostly to inflation, growth, current account, exchange rate, reserves, and a couple of words only about the banking sector. Well, the inflation is falling well below zero and is expected to stay there well through next year, while returning around the target by the end of the forecasted interval of 2 years. Main determinants of such an evolution, unique in the free market economy of Romania after '89, are the two successive VAT cuts, one already in effect and the second to be in effect starting January 1st, while the output gap effects are dissipating, as the output gap is expected to become positive early next year. Whether this early would be the first quarter or the second quarter, we're still measuring and arguing with Mr. Puslaru right there. Inflation expectations, though, are staying positive and under the target interval until early 2017, not much under the targeted interval, then entering back into the interval. So inflation expectations still seem to be anchored into the 2.5 plus minus 1% range. On growth, there are rather optimist prospects. The GDP growth will be about and above, even above 3% for this year. Some research says more. There are some doubts about agricultural output. We'll have to see after the results of Q3 will be published. Probably around 4% or more next year, likely to stay quite high, including due to the boost of consumption. Industrial output has been a good performer in the last years. Rather mixed signals in the last 2 quarters, but I will not consider them a trend as far. Still, the main drive for growth will be moving from net exports to household consumption, with fixed capital formation still being a laggard. Exports of goods and services continue to grow, with a special mention for the balance of services, thus leading to a much better current account figure starting 2013. It has improved, this current account balance, quite spectacularly 2 years ago. The deficit fell from 4.5% to 0.8%, staying there, likely to be even smaller this year, unless there would be some effect from the recent tax reforms challenging the achieved balance. Despite the fact that investment flows are rather low, after the crisis, the financing of such a current account deficit has not been an issue and is not likely to be an issue in the years to come. The exchange rate, the nominal one, has been stubbornly stable in the last 3 years, too stable for most of the reading. The real exchange rate, according to our calculations, show minor variation, but still stay in a reasonable interval. One will have to underline, though, the fact that the unit labor cost is increasing, especially in the last year, and this is an evolution which, on macro level, has to be considered and implemented in micro level reforms. Reserves, international reserves of Romania have stabilized around 30 billion euros, not including the gold, despite the repayment of most of the IMF and EU loan taken a couple of years ago. All the reserve adequacy measures, whether it's months of import, percentage of short-term debt, IMF composite index, and so on and so forth, give us comfort. We're in more than in a comfort zone. Short-term debt is stable, while the long-term external debt is on a downwards trend. Public debt reached 40% this year. In the current IMF forecast, it is seen as slowly decreasing towards 32% in the next decade. However, this is subject to holding budget deficit within commitments. Couple of words, and I'll close with this, on the banking sector. Good solvency and liquidity indicators, probably too good for business, very good for stability, though. Apparently, the lending is finally growing. However, the change in trend is feeble and yet uncertain. There is a lot of discussion where the lending is going. There has been some debate lately. There is a state of facts. Most of the SMEs, as our host has touched earlier, are not significant beneficiaries of lending here or elsewhere. They are riskier than the other possible potential corporate or household beneficiaries. That's why they're not regarded by business as most attractive customers. Of course, this is not the ideal situation, and our view as central bank is to encourage lending towards SMEs in order to increase potential growth, increase employment, increase output. There are instruments to reach this intention, among which most of them are governmental instruments like guarantee funds and guarantee structures. Given the evolutions, including the leveraging, including an increasing appetite for saving, significantly increased appetite for saving, we have now a solid loan-to-deposit indicator which reached 92%, falling from something like 140% a couple of years ago. I would read this as a successful, orderly deleveraging. Could have been worse. It's not the best option, but it could have been worse given the foreign pressures. The NPL ratios has fallen from 22% to 13%, following the implementation of a unified standard of measurement throughout European Union, issued by European Banking Authority, as well as after write-offs and sales of assets by the banks in a solid effort over the last years. That might bring the banking sector back to profitability this year. Prospects are much better, and we're looking forward for that, as well as for better prospects of the economy to encourage what I've underlined before, that is the growth of the lending, of course, mostly in local currency. That would be a general picture, and of course, I'll be looking forward if there would be questions to come back.
Yes, I think that this is quite a unique opportunity now to ask questions to Mr. Governor.
Hold it there, please. Okay, I'll call it Deputy Governor.
Yeah, it was when I introduced you, Bogdan. So we have quite a large audience, and also it struck me when Mr. Otoran was speaking that he is one of the few economists and policymakers who sometimes uses the phrases like "it will be," "it will happen," instead of only "it may happen" or "it may be something." So I think we really appreciate that you sometimes, say these assertions, firm assertions about the future, and this is even more valuable. So maybe at the end of the panel. Actually, we have a question.
Actually, yeah. I do have a question. It's not necessarily related to Romania, but perhaps to the region as a whole. There's a lot of controversy going on at the moment over the immigration throughout the summer into Eastern Europe and Europe as a whole. From an economic perspective, the arrival of a million, let's say approximately, people into the European continent, How would you describe from an economic term the impact is that a long short-term negative from an economic perspective, but with a longer-term positive aspect? Or how do you see the arrival of all these people, not just within the Romanian economy, of course, but the impact on Germany and perhaps the impact on Austria, Hungary? Are there any general thoughts that you would have on how that impacts policy going forward in general terms?
Well, thank you for the question. It's probably the worst I could have expected. I will not be as dramatic as Vitor Constancio has been last week. I'm not that pessimist about the demographic prospects of Europe. However, many countries in Europe have a major demographic challenge. And while on short term, of course, there will be more expenditure, maybe welcome in some countries. Remember how many praises were for Germany raising its expenditure. Well, it's raising its expenditures to 10 billion. Not necessarily, on the infrastructure it was expected to. However, on short term there will be some costs, which I think a rich continent can afford. On longer term, I think there is solid opportunity, which a well-administered set of countries, like we are supposed to be, can manage. Probably we can take advantage on longer term on the skills and the competencies of the migrants, and they can become part of the labor force in Europe, and they can become part of the structure of a much better working Europe in the future. However, I cannot abstain, underlining the fact that this is not a central bank opinion, and I'm talking beyond the mandate of a central bank, to say that my personal comment is that one of the things which was at the grounds of the setting up the European Union were human values, and refugees should be welcome. This is one of the values which put us together 58 years ago, if I'm not wrong. It's all started, and this was one of the things behind it. Whoever is a refugee and entitled to a refugee status should be welcome in Europe.
Thank you for this answer. Thank you for the question. Any other questions? Or we need a little bit more time? Andrei? You have a presentation, please.
Good morning, everybody. It's an honor for me to present you today this important event for Romanian financial markets, the macroeconomic state of the nation. Mr. Vice Governor presented you in the first part of this panel the recent evolutions. I am going to focus on the perspectives, mid-term perspectives for the Romanian economy. As you may know, the Romanian economy has entered a new economic cycle. This is positive after severe adjustment Romanian economy faced over the past 6 years. At present, the financing costs in the economy are at record low level. The government and the parliament approved recently the new fiscal act in which the VAT would be cut from 24 to 20% starting 1st of January next year, and furthermore to 19% starting 1st of January 2017. We expect in our core macroeconomic scenario the economy to gather pace in the mid-run, and we expect year-on-year growth pace around 5% next year and around 6% in 2017. In this context, we expect, as can be noticed in this graph, the relaunch of the real economic convergence towards the euro area. with a potential GDP year-on-year pace at least almost triple compared to that forecasted for the euro area economy. You have here the table summarizing the main forecasts for the Romanian real and financial economy. I would like to focus on the fact that Romania is already the star of economic growth in European Union, and it would keep this status at least in the mid-term, as the foreign investments are turning back to Romania, while the fixed capital formation has already inflection last year, and it's on an upward trend. And we expect the gross fixed capital formation to increase by around 10% in 2017. We also have to mention several challenges for the Romanian economy in the midterm, and I would like to point out the policy mix, because there are several let's say, proposals at this time from the policy mix, from the income policy in terms of public wage salaries, which might become a risk factor for the economic outlook. However, for the financial economy, I point out that the perspectives are mainly positive, as the financing cost is at record low level, but also the real interest rate spread, and I put here in this graph the real interest rate spread between Romania and the United States, it's very high. So this is very attractive for foreign capital to come to Romanian financial market. As we are talking about the stock exchange, I put here a graph with the adjusted price-earnings ratio, and you can see that the Romanian stock exchange is really cheap at present, at least compared to the developed markets. And I put here the S&P 500 from the United States and the Dow Jones Stocks 600 from Pan-European Index. As conclusions, Romania is not a small economy anymore. Last year, the real GDP fully recovered from the crisis. In nominal terms, the real GDP was 150 billion euros last year, and we expect the nominal GDP to overpass the 200 billion euros by the end of this decade. It's a very good outlook for fixed investments here, but also for the investments in the financial economy, which has a real potential to develop in the midterm. I would like to, in the last, let's say, slide of this presentation, I hope that everybody would receive it after the end of this event. I estimated econometrically the contribution of the production factors to the formation of the potential GDP year-on-year pace. And in our scenario, this is the most important thing, I would like to focus the fact that we expect a broad-based recovery in the midterm with evenly, let's say, distributed contribution of the production factors to the potential GDP. Either we talk about the capital or labor or the total productivity factor. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate. I would be here all day long, and thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you very much, Andrei, for this very optimistic and even promising outlook. And your phrase, Bucharest Stock Exchange is cheap, certainly meant the assets traded on the Bucharest Stock Exchange are undervalued and a good investment opportunity.
Yes, from this perspective, I talked about and I put the graph with the price-earnings ratio. I didn't refer to the people working on stock exchange.
No, thank you. But I appreciate your phrase, and I hope that our international guests will leave Romania with this phrase being remembered. The Bucharest Stock Exchange is cheap. Certainly they will understand this.
C'est bon marché en français.
Marché.
C'est bon marché.
C'est bon marché. C'est bon, très bien. Tim, it's your turn, please. Apparently they have too many presentations in this laptop.
Thank you very much. As Marcus Aurelius would have said, problematicus technologicus. My name is Tim Murphy, and I am here with my colleagues from Bloomberg. Bloomberg has a very large presence in Romania, and in fact, in the Eastern European region. Our goal is to assist investors as well as traders and exchanges in the dissemination of economic data, market price data across equities, fixed income, and foreign exchange to try and attract foreign investors as well as to foster a better environment for the growth of domestic markets. So I'm very pleased and proud to be here in such a great company. I just want to say a couple of brief words looking at it a little bit from a foreign investor's perspective as a quick overall view. When we think about investing in a particular country, either through its stock market or through its bond market, of course there are some macroeconomic factors that need to be taken into account. But there are also other intangible factors that need to go into an assessment as to the attractiveness or relative attractiveness of a country in that sense. For those of you who are interested in this kind of analysis and modeling outside of pure economic data, we have a function I've just set up here, the reference for those of you who may be interested in, which actually looks at political risk in the context of a macroeconomic environment. And the interesting thing about it is that it allows you to change the weightings within the model and see what the different outcomes may be. If I take Romania in consideration to the Eastern European region as a whole, and we could argue as to which countries should or should not be in that, we can see here from an external balance aspects, if we look at the top, we can see there's an average and median for the region. That, of course, Romania, as central bank governor said, is certainly on an improving trend, and there is absolutely no doubt about that, whether it's in terms of its trade balance, its currency reserves. If there is one thing that I would point out is obviously the impact of foreign direct investment. And if we look at the extract I've taken from the selection up there, looking at it from a foreign direct investment, the biggest recipients, of course, have been Russia up until now, as well as Turkey. But if we take those two countries aside, certainly Hungary and the Czech Republic have been the bigger beneficiaries in relation to Romania. And I think one of the key aspects of driving Romania's economic growth forward, of course, to state the obvious, is to try to increase the foreign direct investment. But for that to happen, there are some other, these are the kind of intangible or perceptive aspects about it. And both we use a mixture of points from the Economist Intelligence Unit on political risk scores, but of course from the World Bank's indicators in terms of government effectiveness, regulatory quality, application of the rule of law, ease of doing business, and ease of starting a business. And this is what comes down to from a foreign direct investment or even a foreign company looking to set up manufacturing or productive subsidiaries or even start a business here within Romania. And therefore, if we look at Romania, which is somewhere in the middle of the line there, we can see that the ease of starting a business rank is the score is 37. Now, low scores are better. You can see Latvia and Lithuania appear to be more attractive in that sense. We can see that the Czech Republic has got some failings in its ability to start a business. So Romania actually is in a good position in terms of the perceptiveness of how easy it is to come here and start a business. We can also see that in terms of the ease of doing business, it's okay. Obviously, what needs to be said here is that the perception of the regulatory quality and the government effectiveness needs to be improved. However, the good news is that is, looking at it from this perspective, it certainly has been on an improving trend, and I just hope that this may be able to continue. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we can change the modeling and the weights that we can attach to the importance of these subjects. And of course, they are relative, particularly to each other within the region. But it is one way in which foreign investors tend to look at countries as a whole, providing that the macroeconomic picture is sound, which in the case of Romania it certainly is, as a way of incrementally deciding whether to go for one country or the other. So it is a competitive world out there. From the perspective of the domestic Bucharest Stock Exchange, we can certainly see that the market capitalization has been growing. And I just set here the comparison against the Hungarian stock market. Of course, it has got much larger market capitalization. But if there's anything that strikes about this particular chart, is that we can see that the trends are diverging and that the Bucharest Stock Index from a market cap perspective, continues to grow, and the more it grows, the more attractive it will be. However, with a market capitalization of 2.9 billion euros, there is also another failing in here, though, not another failing, but another aspect that needs to be taken account. And that is that if on a Bloomberg terminal we can do a search to look at all outstanding bonds issued by Romanian entities, excluding the government, we can see that there is a total of 2.35 billion euros of total outstanding debt issued by Romanian companies or country risk Romanian entities, excluding, as I say, government debt. And that roughly correlates to about the same size in terms of the market capitalization of the index. You can see that most of the debt has actually been issued in terms of Romanian lei. Very little sourcing externally in terms of euro funding or even dollar funding has really been minimal. So, as a final thought, if we also look at bank lending trends, and in this case what we can see is we have rebased total, and this is coming from the ECB's data surveys. What we can see in here is just a couple of comparison points that looks at net corporate lending by banks starting in 2008. We can see Romania is in white, so 94.67 means that since 2008 to date, total net lending to domestic enterprises has fallen in absolute terms by 5.4%. So it's been a negative growth throughout the entire period. If we compare that, though, however, against the Hungarian experience, which is in yellow, Hungarian net lending has fallen by 38% over the last 7 years. And this is an indicator of the absolute level of the credit crunch that's taken place. As a baseline comparison, the line in red is Eurozone net corporate lending within the Eurozone as a whole, which itself has fallen by 8.9%. We can see in blue, finally, Czech Republic is breaking that trend so that it is now at exactly the same level as it was back in 2008. So in summary, what we can say is this. The banking sector, obviously facing with new Basel III requirements, having to reduce its level of non-performing loans, probably is willing to lend, but it's going to take time to rebuild that. In the meantime, because we don't have a very large or efficient domestic bond market, the credit crunch therefore has to be shared by the investors. One of the outlets, of course, is for companies is to come and list on the Bucharest Exchange, providing that they have got a good track record and can prepare those elements. But The trends from regulatory elements are all pointing in the right direction, and I would say that if Romania can continue in this trend, it will begin to alleviate or increase the sources of funding available to growth for domestic businesses, and hopefully that will continue to foster growth and stability within Romania itself. We at Bloomberg are here to help, and if anybody's interested, my colleagues or myself, please see us throughout the day. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Tim, for sharing with us these remarks. And obviously, we want, as the Bucharest Stock Exchange, to have even tighter links with Bloomberg. Thank you for partnering with us for this conference. And I hope you will provide even with more content regarding Romanian capital market in the future. Last call for last questions to Bogdan Olteanu, Andrei Radulescu, and Tim Murphy. Please. Yes, Daniel, I know that I'm destroying our program now, but really these people had something interesting to say. So, Andrei has a question or has a comment.
Thank you for your help. This event from the macroeconomic point of view, because I'm analyzing, forecasting the Romanian economy for many years in a row already. It's a very good opportunity to invest in Romania. The economy adjusted over the past 6 years. The current account it's nearly balanced. The budget balance it's, let's say, safe, at least from the mid-run. The debt, the public debt and the total debt are on a downward trend. In fact, by 2017, the public debt in our forecast would go to 35%, and the total foreign debt would decrease to 55%, so to the pre-crisis levels. The assets, the financial assets in Romania are very cheap compared to the assets in the developed markets. And I'm not talking only about stocks, only about the equities. I'm also talking about bonds, because the bonds have the potential to converge to the euro area levels in the mid-run, because Romania would probably at the beginning of next decade enter the European Monetary Union. And our scenario is based on not on positive aspects, but on real aspects. So it's not a positive scenario, it's a real scenario. And if you have questions, you may contact us, and we will offer you, let's say, monthly updates on Romanian economy, either from the real economy point of view or from the financial point of view. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me to present you here the macroeconomic state of the nation. Invest in Romania.
Bogdan, does the highest financial authority in this country confirm this outlook?
Well, I'll just add a couple of words to what Mr. Radulescu said, because he's touched the issue of joining the euro area, and this is one thing I haven't discussed, and I think it might be relevant for you. Yes, Romania is one of the euro-optimist countries, if not the least, in the non-euro area of the European Union. About 2/3 of the Romanian are favorable. Most of the Romanian political and general elite is in favor of joining the euro. So Romania considered this rather a matter of preparedness and not a matter of choice. Our evaluations show somewhere 2022, 2023. A right time, technically speaking, for joining, showing both nominal and real convergence reaching, well, nominal convergence staying within the range, and real convergence getting to reasonable levels. Of course, this will be a political decision when. Whether is something which is already decided upon in the Romanian society. It will be a yes, and Romania is moving towards joining euro area.
Thank you, Bogdan. Important statement, especially for our international guests. Thank you very much. I would propose to thank the panelists, people who were speaking. Thank you. So this event certainly is dedicated to international investors, and for them the formation of local capital is one of the crucial topics. In that regard, we thought that it will be very apropos to also invite the representatives of the local institutional investors, and I have a pleasure to welcome on my far left Dragos Nakshu, the CEO of Erste Asset Management. Well, this week Dragos works for the Bucharest Stock Exchange. I mean, part-time job, because he was speaking on Monday about the Your Money exposition, which we will have at the center of Bucharest at the beginning of October. Yesterday he was on a panel organized by us and Cameron McKenna on Polish-Romanian business. Today he's on this panel. Tomorrow is Friday, Dragos. You will have a day off. So thank you. So Dragos is obviously representing the investment fund industry. And I'd like also to welcome Mugur Popescu, who is the member of the association of, well, another pillar of this institutional money in Romania, investing in capital market instruments, namely the Association of the Pension Funds. Who will start? Please.
I have a small presentation. First of all, on behalf of the Romanian Pension Funds Association, I thank Bucharest Stock Exchange for the event and for the invitation. So if we can set it up. So over next 5 minutes, I will present you some information and some analysis on the role of the pension funds on the local capital market. We celebrated 7 years for Pillar 2 fund and 8 years for Pillar 3 fund this year, and we are happy to report over 5 billion euro in assets, average return since inception of about 10% and for Pillar 2 and about 8% for Pillar 3. And more than 6 million members for Pillar 2 and about 360,000 for Pillar 3. About 93% of the asset under management is invested domestically. We have a rather low risk profile as according to our investment policy and regulations. We have about more than 75% in bonds and deposits. This includes both corporate and state bonds. Pension funds bring stability to the market, on secondary market, for bonds and equity. We are on a long-term objectives, so we are here for a long time. Currently, according to our estimates, we hold about 12.5% of public debt. We are the second largest after the banking sector. And about 900 million euros on the Bucharest Stock Exchange. We are the largest domestic investor on the Bucharest Stock Exchange. And we had a critical role in the public offers and the success of the public offers, which took place last year and this year. And we estimate to have about 10 to 15% of the trading volume. Lately, corporate governance climbs up on the agenda of pension funds investments. We like to see more transparency, disclosure, efficiency of management, and protection of the minority rights. Just a briefing of where our main investments are on the stock exchange. Obviously, they are on the largest and most liquid stocks. Furthermore, I would put some personal consideration as an analyst and investment professional. which can give us a bit of food of thinking. I divided the sectors in defensive and cyclical on the subjective, my own personal. As you may know, the defensive refers to the companies that tend to grow less when the economy is booming, and to be more or less related to the economic cycle, and cyclical, the companies that follow the economic cycle at a larger extent. So I split the sectors in defensive and cyclical, and then I put a split of the sectors on the different stock exchanges in the region. And my conclusion is the Bucharest Stock Exchange is the most defensive index in the region, with 68% in defensive stocks. Now, this can be a positive. Only Budapest Stock Exchange is in the same range of with 50% of defensive stocks. But at the same time, as an investment professional, I would like to see more companies listed from the cyclical sectors. If economy is to grow, as earlier was presented, of about 4%, we would like to capture more of this growth. And the cyclical companies tend to capture more of this growth. So, in brief, under our attention now is the sector diversification, as I mentioned earlier, the liquidity. We tend to go, also our regulations require to have liquid exposures. We are looking at the potential for corporate bonds and corporate governance, as I mentioned earlier. Now, in conclusion, pension funds managed to deliver remarkable investment performance throughout the toughest economic cycle, display a growing role in the financing of the Romanian economy to the capital markets. We have certainly a social mission to help support financial security of the next generations. And one of the main priorities for us is to have a stability of the policy and the legal framework so that we can continue to develop ourselves and the local capital markets. Thank you for your attention, and thank you once again for the answers.
Thank you. Dragos?
So, thank you very much for the occasion, and definitely thank you for the kind words, Ludwig. I think I will have to ask my compliance department for a temporary work permit for BSc. I'll see if I can get it.
It's okay.
But I'm happy to be here today and happy to say some good words about the Cinderella, the former Cinderella of capital markets in Romania, investment fund industry, mutual fund industry, to put it even more specific. On the verge of the financial crisis back in 2007, 2008, Romania was sitting on the last position in European ranks, along with Bulgaria, with just around 200 million euros of assets under management. I'm happy to say that now we will see in 2015 the 7th consecutive year of double-digit growth, both in terms of assets and in the number of investors. This comes on the back, from the initial around 200 million as of the end of the first half of the 2015, we have more than 4.5 billion euros in mutual funds, with more than 320,000 investors. It's the first time that we have been able to pass over the former, let's say, national record, which happened just before the fall of infamous National Investment Fund in the spring of 2000. So it took us about 15 years to regain the trust of the people and, let's say, reposition the idea of the most democratic form of capital market, which is mutual funds all over the world, to reposition it let's say, in the structure of the savings of financial households. Still, we are far away from any benchmark in the region or in Europe in terms of penetration rate. Currently, we have something like 4 to 5% of financial households that own mutual funds. It's still very far away from Central Europe, which is around 15% if we make an average. And if we compare to the highest figures, which are coming from the northern part, from Scandinavia, in this respect, Sweden is the northern pole. In that country, they have 75% of households owning mutual funds. So it's a very popular type of saving. We are far away from that, and still we have lots to do in developing, let's say, financial literacy, I would say. I think this is the main barrier that we all face. Whatever investment products we manage, being it second pillar, third pillar, pension funds, being it mutual funds or alternative investment funds, or talking from the brokerage perspective when trying to sell single securities. And here it's a lot to do. It's not just about seminars, it's not just about conferences. This is something that we have to do on a daily basis. And of course, I think here critical is the involvement of the large distribution networks, bank distribution networks, that were, I would say, the main success factor in developing the mutual funds story, successful mutual fund story in the last 6-7 years. It's critical that they continue to do that, and they train further their distribution network to face the volatility test, to sell mutual funds that are marked to market with all their financial assets included. And then we can be, on this basis, we can move to really developing an equity culture in Romania, which we badly need in order to come to such events and talk about achievements rather than, let's say, missed opportunities or comparing ourselves to other markets with a negative bias. So I think I would say that this is the main message. So the success comes with financial literacy, and this is still our main goal. I'm happy to say that on the back of what we have done in this market, 2014, Romania's mutual fund industry was, in relative terms, the best performer in Europe. It's the first time we had such an achievement. In relative terms, the assets grew by 40% in 1 year. The podium was made by other countries that were below 30%, close to 30%. This year, I don't think we will be able to renew that position. I think we will still have, as I mentioned, double-digit growth figure. At the end of June, we had an increase in euro terms of 9.8%, so I think it's going to be around 15% by the end of the year. Hopefully we will reach 5 billion euros, and we will be pretty close with the assets coming from the individual contributions, the 6 million participants to privately managed pensions. It's in terms of the mutual funds industry, it's been a boom or a bull industry for fixed income until 2014. I would say that, and related to, let's say, what's going to be the subject of today's one-to-ones, we see, as a result of the investments done, at least by some of the players, a development of the equity inclination of the risk appetite in retail investors. We could see, I think, by the end of this year, we will see for the first time more than 100 million euros of assets, of new sales in the funds that have an equity allocation in our industry. It's going to be the first year that we will see such a milestone. And if I'm talking only about the company I'm managing, we can already see this year a doubling of the inflows in such funds. the funds with an equity allocation, being it equity funds, multi-asset funds, or absolute return funds. So I think this is a positive development which at the end of the day brings in a positive pressure on potential issuers to consider offering equities, either as secondary offerings from some of the large stakeholders, being it state or Fondo Proprietatea, or maybe others, EBRD and other financial institutions. Or growingly, we hope to see more and more of entrepreneurial companies, family businesses that have reached a certain maturity, companies that have benefited in the last 5-10 years of private equity ownership to come and exit via the stock exchange. We badly need a diversification of the assets. I think Ludwig is on the same page with us. And of course we need, in order to really reach to the emerging market status that we all need to diversify the investor base for all our issuers and to, let's say, be able to tap larger inflows and more diversified inflows from not just hedge funds but also long-term funds into Romanian equities. We need further reduction of costs and commissions, and I would like to point here on FSA, if I may. We badly need that to come back from the temporary waivers, which is the name of the game for a while, to permanent fee cutting. This is to increase liquidity, to increase secondary trading. And of course, I think here BSE still has a lot to do. We have still one of the most expensive markets to trade in, and we need to develop together, and we need to have a good going together for our investors. I don't know. I think I'll stop here. I think there will be questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mugur. Thank you, Dragos. And Dragos, yes, indeed, I think you pointed out the most crucial problems which we all face. So hopefully there will be more funds flowing into the equities market from investment funds, pool of money.
And more inflows.
And more inflows. So, but as I said, I think we would all agree that all important points were touched. I mean, the distribution, the force, good sales, and this targeting educated investors or educated customers. Hopefully the state will generate more of the free float. We urgently wait for the resumption of the privatization process, but we also think that there is still a great room to increase the free float based on the already listed companies where the state has considerable holdings. And we are working on bringing to the market, as you said, also private entrepreneurs, or to encourage currently listed companies to raise capital using the stock exchange, because this is not yet the case in Romania. And I will not avoid joining you in this call, which is addressed to the SFE, but also to ourselves, to the Bucharest Stock Exchange, about the cost of access for the customers to the market. So thank you. Any questions? Please, we have a question. I think that the room is big enough, and with yeah, please.
Thank you. I'm George Stan from TeamNet. I have two questions, if I may, one for Mr. Popescu and one for Mr. Sobolevski. Mr. Popescu, what is your overview on the existing and maybe the future companies on the Romanian Stock Exchange and the Romanian Stock Exchange itself? Are they strong enough to encourage the private funds to invest even more on BVB and maybe become a driver for BVB? Like maybe the Polish example is well worth mentioning. And the question for Mr. Sobolevsky is the Romanian Stock Exchange building partnerships with other stock exchanges in other countries in order to encourage dual listing for Romanian companies with international presence? If yes, which ones would be maybe top 5? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Definitely, as you see from our weightings, we are very much invested in Romania, and not because we are mandated by the regulations, because we think that it's a good value. And also I would mention that this project, STEAM project, that will take the market to an emerging market status from a frontier status, will give access to about 30 times more money. So the value of the assets should naturally increase if we access to this. And we want to be there before the others. So this is my personal view, is that it's a good moment to be there before everybody knows that Romania is emerging market status.
We already have some foreign listings on the Bucharest Stock Exchange. One of them is associated with the launch of the aero market, which happened in February this year. And we are working on others. There will be also dual listings. For this, something like cooperation between the markets and market participants is essential and indispensable, not between the market operators. So we are not focused on creating any alliances or partnerships with the market operators, but to have as close ties as possible with other markets. So, and if you ask about where we could source these companies to be listed in Bucharest, Poland in the north, Bulgaria in the south, and possibly also other countries will appear on the map, which of course is greatly dependent on whether we will be successful in creating more of the liquidity and a more profound market in Romania. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution to this day, and thanks. Thank you. One of the key events in Romania this year was the adoption of the new fiscal code. We thought that it will be of great interest, especially for our international guests, to hear about these changes, and I have a pleasure to welcome Dan Bedin, who is partner of Deloitte, and he will have the presentation on these important changes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here at this event to speak about a topic usually investors are not too happy about, taxes. But fortunately I have some good news to speak about, because there are recent changes in the fiscal code that provide some benefits for the investors in the capital market, but also for the companies listed on the stock exchange. It's good to mention that together with the stock exchange, Deloitte had a partnership within the discussions on the fiscal code, and some of the proposals that are now in the legislations stem from our collaboration. We drafted together the text of the law and we promoted together in front of the tax authorities. So what are these changes? Of course, the time is short and the legislation is quite heavily modified. So I try to pick up some of the issues that I think might be of interest for you. Of course, if you would like to speak about this or some others after my presentation, I'd be happy to speak to you about them. So I will speak mainly about the tax impact for the listed entities and for the investors, either legal entities or individuals not too much about individuals, but I think there are some changes that worth mentioning. So for the companies listed on the stock exchange, I think some of the provisions of the fiscal code are quite beneficial. And I'm talking about two main changes in the legislation. One is the tax rates themselves, and secondly is about many changes that aim to improve the Romanian legislation in clarifying the text of the law and the applicability of the legislation, because usually there have been many uncertainties into the Romanian fiscal code. Moreover, we have now in the fiscal procedural code a new provision saying that whenever there is an uncertain provision of the law, of the tax law, the interpretation would be in favor of the taxpayer. So that's something which is, I think, very beneficial. What are, in fact, sorry about it, I think I managed to do something which is not... So what are the main implications for the companies listed? Of course, the VAT rate, reducing it from... So the VAT rate, reducing it from 24 to 20% at the beginning of the next financial year is one of the most important changes in the legislation. Of course, this might not affect the taxpayer themselves, because we know that VAT is a consumption rate, and usually the final beneficiary of the goods and services sold on the market benefit of this reduction. But some, of course, all the companies are end users for some of the goods and services on the market. So the reduction of the tax itself, I think, represents a benefit for all the investors on the market. Moreover, the tax would be reduced to 19% starting with the 1st of January 2017. That being said, of course, I would not like to enter into the budgetary discussion and discussion about the deficit of the budget, of the state budget. This is a different discussion, but as I perceive now the political environment, I think we have a good mix of tax reduction that over time would impact beneficially the economy and would not affect too much the state budget. Another changes that would affect the listed entities. There is a tax that has been on the top page of the front page of the newspapers, the special construction tax. In fact, it is a tax on investment. And of course, no company wanted liked this kind of tax, and there was a big lobby against it. Finally, we have it taken out from the legislation. Unfortunately, we don't have it starting with the 1st of January 2016 as we expected, but starting with the next year. There are also some benefits for the companies to invest, and there are certain adjustments of the tax legislation, of the profit tax chapter, as regards R&D and reinvested profit. So if a company decides, let's take the second one first, decides not to distribute to the shareholders the profits but to reinvest them, the reinvested profits would be exempted from profit tax. So what's new? In fact, what's new is that there are new categories of assets, including in the assets that can get benefit of this incentive, and we are talking about mainly equipment, but also software and others. And also financial lease agreements fall now under the benefit of this incentive. The other one, the R&D, is a provision that is in the legislation for many years, but unfortunately it hasn't been applied too much because of certain small details in the legislation, the way the legislation was written. Now, what is new is that the benefit of the R&D deduction, which is an additional 50% deduction for the cost with R&D expenses, would be accepted even if the R&D activity doesn't finalize into a specific product, even if it is unsuccessful. So I think this would be a benefit, and more companies would try to benefit of this incentive. The last one, it is more related to the stock market. For the stock option plans, now we have some clarification in the law, and as it is the law now, we have somehow the taxation of this kind of instruments postponed at the level of the individual until the individual sells the shares, and moreover for the company this expense would be deductible, and no other taxes or security contributions would be charged on this stock option plan. Now let's move to the investors. I have here some comments about resident and non-resident investors. Of course, I think it's obvious that N comes from non-resident and R from resident investors. So you may see which of them apply to one of them or even to both of them. So speaking about investment revenue, mainly capital gains, dividends, and interest. What's new as regards capital gain? Unfortunately, we don't have a reduction in the profit tax, which is also the capital gain tax, although in some of the drafts of the legislation this was provided. But we have 16%, and this level of tax would stay. What's new? Till now, if companies owned more than 50% real estate assets, then the shares in those companies, the sale of shares in those companies would have been taxable in Romania. Now this provision is taken out. Moreover, there is a recent change in the legislation, is almost 1 year since then, or more than 1 year, June 2014, since when the non-residents that want to make transactions on the Romanian capital market do not need to appoint a fiscal representative, and they can register themselves. So it is a kind of easy procedure for non-residents to deal on the Romanian market. Now a provision which is beneficial for both Romanian investors and foreign investors. Honestly, I think this is not applicable on the stock exchange transactions in many cases, because we are talking about a capital gain tax exemption, and this applies if two conditions are met. If at least 10% of the shares of the company are held for a period of at least 1 year. As I said, usually investors on the stock exchange don't have such a level of investment, but I think it's a provision that should be looked at. Another one which was requested by companies owning assets under the form of shares, for example, they asked for this provision to apply even for revaluation of shares. So if you have shares in a company for a period of more than 1 year and with having at least 10%, then even the revaluation of the shares would be exempt from tax. Moving to dividends, the good news is that the dividend withholding tax is drastically reduced. In fact, there were discussions half a year ago to take out completely the dividend tax from Romania. Finally, the agreement was for 5% dividend withholding tax, which is one of the lowest taxes in, I would say, even in the world, not speaking about some islands somewhere in Atlantic or other, yeah? So we have this 5% dividend tax starting with 2017, not with 2016. Honestly, there have been debates if postponing with 1 year the applicability of the dividend withholding tax is a thing that would be beneficial for the state budget because potentially company would delay with 1 year the distribution of dividends, potentially to benefit of that, if they would like to do that or not. But finally, this is the decision. And the last type of income, which is interest, we now have in the Romanian legislation something which is new, in fact, for a couple of years already. It comes from a ECJ case, and interest derived from Romania now can be taxed in Romania only for the profit, let's say. So the costs the non-resident has with that interest, or potentially another interest for a back-to-back loan, would be deductible. This is done only if the non-resident opts for that. So unless the non-resident opts for this net computation of the Romania withholding tax, the tax would be applied at a gross interest. Yeah? The tax is 16%, and of course may be reduced under the treaties Romania concluded. It's worth mentioning that corporate bonds are now also exempt from withholding tax in Romania, and for public bonds that was already provision existing in the legislation, so no withholding tax for that interest. Another small things I would like to mention about is the introduction in the Romanian legislation of the concept of fiscal transparent entities. So fiscal transparent entities won't be taxed as such, but each participant in the fiscal transparent entity would be taxed according with its own tax treatment. Individual, company, resident in a country or another country benefiting of double tax treaty and so on. It was mentioning that for collective investments, UCITS, which are defined as such under the EU directive, are not taxed in Romania for the income derived from Romania. So I know that the compliance would be quite a pain for an investment fund with more than 1,000 participants to compute the tax for each of them. So these UCITS are not taxed in Romania. The last slide I have refers to the Romanian investors, individuals. I won't tell too many details because I know the time is short. One thing about the capital gains, now we have any costs related to the transaction on the stock exchange are deductible on computing the yearly tax. And then we are talking about different new transactions that were defined, the tax treatment was defined under the Romanian legislation. And I'm talking about securities lending, gold price index, or short selling. Until now, they were not clarified in the Romanian legislation, and although the regulatory framework provided for them, people usually didn't do them because the tax treatment was not clear. Now we have the tax clear. If you'd like, and if you have the time, I can go through each of them, but I assume the interest is lower. I assume there are more institutional investors in the room. So if you're interested about more detail about the tax treatment and, of course, other issues, I'm happy to help you with that. So thank you very much. If any questions, please.
Thank you, Dan. But any questions, maybe, regarding taxation? You always wanted to ask, but were afraid of?
Yes, please.
Sometimes better not to ask in this field.
Everything is clear now, yeah?
No,
please.
No, I wouldn't say that this is the pertinent assumption that everything is clear. I mean, not with regard to your presentation, but to this matter. But Dan will stay with us for a while, and
yes, of course.
Yeah, you can attack him with your doubts or questions afterwards. Thanks a lot, Dan. Thank you. Thank you also for helping us crossing this river with taxation as an important part of the development of the financial sector. We are approaching the last item on our agenda, and here comes the good news. You will not be anymore exposed to my role of the moderator. Thank you for being benign so far for me. So this will be led by a star of Romanian journalism, editor-in-chief of Ziarul Financiar, Sorin Păslaru. So I leave him the pleasure to introduce the concept of this section on our agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your nice words coming from the star of capital market of Eastern Europe. Okay, yeah. After your results at Warsaw, we hope we'll be the same in Romania, and we trusted in you. And thank you for Stock Exchange, Bucharest Stock Exchange, to invite us to be moderate this panel, because it's after me what will happen from now are really interesting of a day. I'm not I don't know, on speakers until now was very interesting, but now is the moment of the truth, because more or less people who are here are the same. I saw their face in the last 10 and 50 years in this industry, but people who will come they come with innovation, with energy. They build their company, their business, and it's on you to convince them to come on Bucharest Stock Exchange. Before that, let me introduce two new products from ZEFE. Ziarul Financiar becoming in the last year more and more platform, not only a newspaper. ZEFE English, you have money, we have information. On ZEF English, you can find all the news, more than 50 news of a day, translated. If you want more on analyze on some numbers, you can find on ZEF English. My colleague, I have a colleague outside. You can subscribe here. And also some information on investment in Romania provided by our partner KPMG. And also I want to introduce you another product, a new product from us, ZF Corporate. What you can do with this new product, ZF Corporate? You can read all the news who appeared in our print newspaper 12 hours before. So in the evening, you can read our news who will appear tomorrow. So tonight at 8 p.m. you can read the news from tomorrow newspaper. Also, you want to know the first player in 80 markets. On the right of our product, for example, banking. The top of banking, after assets, with information on net profit, number of employees, the owner, and the president. Information at a glance, as you say, on 80 market. Insurance, banking, energy, what do you want? In 1 second, you will find this information. More than that, we have a new product named infographics. So, for tomorrow, you have a presentation to do on energy market, on banking, on stock exchange, on business high tech. You come to ZEFE Corporate, and you can find the last infographic published in Ziarul Financiar in a separate influx, in a separate flow. So, every day Ziarul Financiar published more than 20 infographics on different markets. We take them from the newspaper and arrange them on different sectors of economy. Here we are in ZEFE Bank and Insurance. Infographics and in banking and insurance. So we have on banking system, credit, insurance, what we can find here. The last infographic published in Ziarul Financiar. For example, bank post, number of bank post, RB leasing, what happened with the stock, with the leu euro in the last 8 years. What happened? An article who made a lot of views on ZEFE with the commission of banks at ATM. And more information, deposits of non-residents. There are 12 flow of information with this kind of infographics. You can find them on ZEFE Corporate. And from last month, we launched this website also on mobile. You can find directly on mobile, on your mobile, all this information every day. So let me now, I want to present who will be the next speakers in our panel. And let me introduce you Mr. Voicu Oprean, CEO Arobs Transilvania. Okay, please, welcome. Will be next afternoon. Okay, thank you.
Okay, hello. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. After such interesting presentations about macroeconomic and what we should expect, now we are get to the why I'm here, because I represent one of the IT companies, one of the few IT companies actually that expressed their interest to be listed in Bucharest Stock Exchange. And I would like to start with one question. Who would like to invest in Romanian IT? Please raise your hand. Nothing there? Okay. Okay. So, more than half, I would say. But as you know, there is no IT companies on the Romanian Stock Exchange, and that's really one of the issue, I would say, because Romania IT is growing quite fast, and it's a sustainable growth. Even during crisis, we experience highly growth. And when I say highly, I say double digit. And we are here as a group of companies, I mean with the other speakers, and I would like to speak particularly about Arobs, what we did and what we are planning to bring to the market. So, Arobs, it started as an entrepreneurial company with this philosophy, and I know it's not something that you would like to hear as an investors, but we started with a few failures as every entrepreneurs, but we did that in the last 17 years. And we build it on failure. We build it on frustration. It's not on catastrophe for now, but we'll see it maybe later. But what brought me to the business? So I would like to bring my history to this. So actually, while I was completing my MBA at the local university, I was fired because the Italian investor, the IT Italian investor, didn't accept me to do both, you know, studying and writing code. And then I decided to, you know, switch completely the boat, I would say, and decide to start the company. That was late 90s, 97, 98 actually. In 2015, I'm doing completely different. In order to please my employees and them, in order to please me, I sponsor 3 guys from my company to be in Hull University MBA for succession planning, of course. After the first customer in 2001, we started with, we faced a pretty big decision. In 2001, because of the crisis, we were about 40 people, and that time one of our biggest customers decided to cancel the contract, and that forced us to do something. It was not catastrophic, as I said, but it was something unexpected, and that time I decided to invest everything what we have in developing new products. And we started in 2001 in investing in products. We had about 3 failures before one of our first products to emerge. And since then, we can say that one of our products, which is the fleet management product, is the leader in the market. And that's one of the key success story that I would like to bring it to you. But what is differentiating us from some other IT companies, Romanian IT companies, is the fact that we are bringing together software outsourcing services, product development, and innovation. Because we created in our company culture of innovation in order to create new products and incubate new products. And I will explain the journey, and I will give you also some financial details. Right now we have more than 430 employees. We are located in many cities and in 2 countries, Chisinau and Chisinau in the capital of Moldavia and Hungary. In London we have our sales office. So that's how our journey began, with the first few products here. Then in 2003, it emerged our first mobile application on Trio, if you remember, or Palm. I don't know if anyone remember that, you know, ugly devices, you know, like pretty heavy, that everyone was using on collecting orders from the field. So that was the first generation. Right now the Optimal, it's actually a real and own brand in Romania, and it's running on Android, on the latest technologies. In 2005, we launched the Track GPS, the fleet management product for monitoring vehicles, a solution that it's right now in 4 countries. 2008, we decided to invest in the crisis in I would position Smilo as the first Romanian brand of navigation solution, GPS navigation device. And since then, we explore and added more and more devices, like tablets, like DVR, like some others area into that consumer electronic division. 2011, we opened some offices, Iași, Budapest, and Chișinău. And 2014, we opened Târgu Mureș and Suceava. And the latest product, it's RateWiz. And I spoke with Sorin about a possible way to finance a product, an IT product. And we decided to finance that product, not because we were not able to find investor, but because we consider it strategically to sell the IP of the solution to one of our strategic partners. That was also a partner in the outsourcing area. And, but the business, it's running, it's continually running, but we decide to capitalize and sell the IP with a very innovative technology that they didn't access so far. Then, those are the business lines. Actually, in Arops, there are 4 business lines. The software outsourcing, which is the area where mostly, I would say, 90% of the Romanian companies are doing. It's like the software loan, it's like the textile, with the only difference that probably the factories are not moving from Romania to outside, but in some cases, yes. But the people are moving to the customers. So sometimes I forecast in the future that we might lose that competitive advantage. The second business line, it's the fleet management, Track GPS, that we founded in 2005. And right now we are the market leader with approximately 40,000 assets that are monitored in Romania, Moldavia, and Hungary. So we are a regional player. And last year we entered, surprisingly, in Indonesia, where we discover it's a good potential for us, being an emerging country, experiencing the same problem as all the other emerging countries are experiencing, high traffic, some theft, fuel theft, and people that are not really doing what they were told to do. In 2014, we did a first acquisition. We acquired competitors with 3,000 assets. We successfully completed the acquisition. We financed it from our internal funds. And right now we are looking for some other investment. The first product, which is the one that I actually generate, was the first successful product of Arops. It's Optimal SFA, Salesforce Automation. It started about 12 years ago. It's a successful product. It has been with up and downs. And it's in our company, it's probably the most iconic product because it let us learn from our mistakes and from our success. On the other side, it's not a key element in our portfolio, as I said. And the fourth business line, it's the consumer electronic division, where we have our own brand and we distribute some other brands. And here we are working with all the big players, and it's the area where we like to innovate in the hardware area, but still provide an accessible technology to the local market. Our products are right now in Germany. We tried, and we are still struggling to enter in the German market with the Smilo brand. And it's kind of an experience. We are on the learning curve, I would say, in the Western European market with that product. These are our key players. I'm not alone, of course. I'm together with with the financial director and with 4 other colleagues in the area, each one on each division. We started this about 3 years ago, and right now we are in the stable environment. And I'm more in the area of business, new business development, and new special projects. Not in the day-to-day, I would say, business. What is our social responsibility? But I will skip it for, you can find it on our website if you are interested. We are the main sponsor of the Cluj International Marathon, and we are doing a lot for promoting sports, promoting education, and families with problems. Those are the figures. Probably that's the area where we are most interested in. Last year, consolidated turnover was more than 50 million euro. With the two subsidiaries generated less than 1 million, and with a gross profit of about 8%. Those are the lines, and I would like to share with you on the more private discussion. We separated on the business line, on the profitability. Each of the business line is profitable. We expect about this year to grow to about 30% in the outsourcing, about 22% in fleet management, 10% in the GPS in consumer electronics, and 23% in the Salesforce automation. So overall, we expect about 23%, so double-digit growth again for this year, and we expect the growth to continue with the same pace for the next years. Those are our forecasts. And to conclude, our business strategy is to consolidate, to invest, and through greenfield investment or customer acquisition. Those are the key elements, and I would like to add the last one, which is the most important, and the one that I currently manage. It's investing in the new technology, a new trend, and of course new ideas, where Arops is part of the shareholders. Thank you. That's my presentation, and I'm here for more one-to-one discussion. Thank you very much.
Mulțumim. Thank you very much. It's enough, 8% gross profit. We will see if in the next year Arops will come to the stock exchange. We invite now Mr. Sebastian Schmitz, managing partner Cabanova. Cabanova is an online website builder. Please. Do you have more than 8%? Maybe it's better to start with the EBITDA and the growth of EBITDA with the last slide of Mr. Oprea.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Sebastian Schmitz, co-founder and managing partner of Cabanova. There's one thing that almost every small business, not just in Romania, but in the whole world, has in common. And that is, they need a website to present their company online. And that's what we do. We provide these SMEs with the tools they need to get a professional website easily, professionally, and affordably without any programming skills at all. Let me begin just by briefly telling you our story. Back in 1999 in Düsseldorf, in Germany, my business partner and I, Carl Weyers, we started a small web design agency. And we would go around to potential clients looking for business. And these potential clients were predominantly small businesses. They really liked what we did. They were happy to work with us. But they always had one big problem, and that was the budget. They could not afford to have a professional website made. And we actually saw this as a major opportunity. We didn't see it as a bad thing. And that's how our Cabanova website builder was actually born. We released the very first beta version back in 2001. And since then, over 1 million websites have been created. And we currently have the fifth generation of our software online. We're still a small company with 12 employees, 8 full-time, 4 part-time, distributed between our main office, which is in Düsseldorf, and our subsidiary office here in Bucharest, which we opened back in 2003. I'm actually living here in Bucharest and leading the office here, and my colleague Carl Weyers, he's leading the operations in Düsseldorf. Now let me tell you a little bit about the two products we have. The first one is the online website builder for small and medium-sized businesses, which can be used directly online at cabanova.com. It's not only the most flexible website builder, but it's also the first website builder in the world that's fully touchscreen compatible, not just in the published websites, but also when it comes to creating and editing the website. And what that does is it gives these businesses more freedom, flexibility, and control over their websites, as it is very easy to use and has many powerful features and doesn't require a single line of programming code. I guess the easiest way to describe it is that it's like using PowerPoint, but for building a website. We're also currently very focused on the mobile aspect, as more and more people are going online with mobile phones and tablets these days, and therefore every website created with Cabanova has a special adapted version for optimized viewing on smaller screens. There's also a number of tools available for search engine optimization, because it's obviously one thing to build a website, but it's another thing you have to get people to come and visit it. And to keep things as simple as possible for the businesses who need websites, we also obviously provide web space, domains, and emails. The second product we have is a highly customizable CMS system for retail networks. And it's based on our website builder technology, but it contains many, many more very advanced features. I can best describe it to you by explaining a current client we have, and that's Vodafone in Germany. And we've created a system for them that enables hundreds of brick-and-mortar Vodafone retail stores to actually build their websites directly online, individually, and at the same time, we completely maintain the Vodafone corporate identity. The templates are very restricted, and we have editors sitting at Vodafone, and they actually control about 80% of the content that's on these websites. So if there's any changes in pricing, new tariffs, any new mobile phones, etc., they can make these updates to every single website at the touch of a button. So this means the websites are always kept up to date, but these retail stores, they also still have something to say. They can edit their own pages. They can, for example, add their team. They can add photos if they've had a special event last week, and anything else they want to do. So it's really a great value-added service for these retailers, and for the actual brand. For example, for Vodafone, they have a great way of getting much more control over the websites of their retailers. So why am I actually standing here in front of you today? The answer is actually very simple. We need to grow. We are at a stage where we really have an absolute state-of-the-art product. It's finished, it's in use around the world. As I said, over 1 million websites have been created already. It's available in 5 languages at the moment. We have a couple more on the way, and it's able to be we can easily add any language that we want to. We have actually no physical limitations to the markets that we want to enter, as it's a software as a service running from servers. And that also means that we're very scalable as a company with our products. And that all put together means that we're in a perfect position now to really start focusing on our sales and marketing for Cabanova. And we are looking to raise the funds needed for this through the Aero market of the Bucharest Stock Exchange. Now let me just talk a little bit about the market potential that we have. During the next 6 to 9 months, we're going to be focusing our sales and marketing efforts on 2 regions. The first one is Europe, and there are potentially 25 million small and medium-sized enterprises there. And also Southeast Asia, where there are 62 million SMEs. And each of these needs a website. With regards to Europe, obviously we are already locally and regionally present here, especially in Germany, France, and Romania, so it's a logical step to start there. And there's also a number of reasons why it makes a lot of sense to enter the Southeast Asian market. First of all, it's an absolutely huge market. Millions and millions of people, 62 million SMEs, as I mentioned. And second of all, it's an emerging market. And there are millions and millions of people who have never been online before, and only now are they starting to get smartphones and tablets and surfing the web. That's something they could not ever do before. And our Cabanova website builder software is aimed and optimized exactly for this mobile market. And third of all, our competitors, there are not many competitors active in this market yet, so we are already experiencing some first mover advantages there. So how are we actually going to grow? To reach these markets, we have a multifaceted strategy. The first step is to increase the direct sales. And to increase the direct sales at cabanova.com, we need to invest in search engine optimization, search engine marketing, email marketing, affiliate marketing, social media marketing, and last but not least, also public relations. At the end of last year, we started a new distribution channel, and that was an indirect distribution channel targeted at resellers. And what that means is that we are contacting major telecoms, ISPs, and web hosting providers all around this Europe and Southeast Asia region. And we will be forming strategic partnerships with them. These companies already have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of clients, and they know their local markets very, very well. And Cabanova is a great value-added service for them to offer their customers, as it's also a new source of revenue and will help increase their customer loyalty. We will work very closely with these resellers to define appropriate packages and pricing, to, for example, edit the templates for the local markets. You can't have a European face in a template focused for Malaysia or Indonesia, for example. We are able to customize features in the website builder, and obviously we can translate and provide any local language versions that are needed. And we have already actively begun contacting these potential clients, these resellers, and we have already had meetings. I can give you just a couple of examples quickly. We've been to Telkom Indonesia. They have 135 million clients. We've also been to XL Axiata, also in Indonesia. They have 40 million clients. And we have had a lot of positive feedback from these companies. Negotiations are still ongoing. And on a note more close to home, also very pleased, we are in the very final negotiations with a major European player. It's a member of the Liberty Global Group, and we're confident that that partnership will be sealed within the next couple of weeks. And now to our pricing model. For the direct sales, we have a freemium model, and that means anybody can build a website for free. There are some limitations in the functionality. For example, they can only build 3 pages in the website, but then there's the option to upgrade to any premium paid package, which then also includes web space, domains, and emails. For the resellers, these major telecoms and ISPs, it's a slightly different model. We have a revenue sharing system. And what that means is, first of all, there's a one-time setup fee and also an ongoing monthly maintenance fee, which is fixed. But then for every website package that they sell, we take a share of that revenue on a monthly basis. Regarding the CMS for individual retail networks, for retail networks, each of these projects is very, very large, and the pricing is very, very individual based on the scope of the product and the features that they're looking for. Before I go, I just want to also mention we are not alone in the market, obviously. We do have competitors, but regarding the functionality and the quality of our product, Cabanova is really, really at the very top level of the playing field. And just to give you an idea of the potential of Cabanova as a company, as an investment, I'm going to give you a couple of statistics of our competitors. One of them is listed on the NASDAQ and has a market capitalization of $780 million US, and another one has a value of $455 million after a recent round of investment. For us, it's not enough to be at the top level based on the quality of the product. We now need to increase our market share and revenue and therewith our company value. And I have just one more quick thing before I finish, a couple more statistics. Did you know that there are close to 1 billion websites online right now? This year, 300 million websites will be created. That's 571 for every minute, 10 for every second of every hour of every day. So this market is enormous, and it's just waiting to become unlocked, starting with funding through the Aero program. If you'd like some more information, and I'll also be very happy to give any live demonstrations of our software, please do come and see me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schmitz. It's interesting that a company based in Düsseldorf come after money here in Bucharest, because we saw until now that Romanian company go for money outside of the country. So now we invite another one of the biggest player in outsourcing with more than 500 employees in Romania, Mr. Călin Văduva, CEO of Fortech, also from Cluj, like Mr. Voicu Opran. There is maybe BVB. It's good to expand in Cluj, to have a branch there. Huh? There are a lot of entrepreneurs who come from Cluj. Please.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy that I have the chance to introduce Fortech here in this day. Before starting, my name is Călin Văduva. I'm the CEO and one of the shareholders of Fortech. Before introducing Fortech, I would just like to start with a short story about my first connection with financial sector, with investment sector. It was before joining the MBA, before having an MBA to the Wirtschaft University from Vienna. I was working in 1998 in Tokyo for a hedge fund. The hedge fund was developing a platform, a trade platform for connecting different brokers, Lehman Brothers, Merrill Lynch, and so on. And they were very, very active. 5 years they did an excellent job. The difference comparing with the other hedge funds were that they have a platform, a software platform that was so efficient, and they could do a lot of operation very fast. So they could get about a revenue and winning about 80 million per year, and everything was going very fast for a few years. Unfortunately, in 1 year, they had a big failure. They lost almost all the money. And that happens also due to one mistake in the platform. They had an automatic trading platform which went wrong. And that goes everything bad afterwards. So the message is, I think financial, I think investment cannot work without the software. The software can bring the things on a high position. On the same time, they can make the things working bad. I don't see now a company that is growing up without having a real good infrastructure in IT. That means a software that disrupt the technology or disrupt the business model, or a software that makes the company working more efficient. When I'm talking about Fortech, we are an outsourcing company. We are a company about 500 people. We are a company that works 100% for West Europe and USA, so 50% of the business is coming from DACH countries, from Germany or Austria, and 50% of the business is coming from USA. The company is still a 100% Romanian company. We have right now about, let's say, 100 more customers in different parts of the world. But again, Germany, Austria, and USA are the main markets for us. And the model is that we are developing a kind of partnership with them where we build a kind of dedicated teams. Right now we are running this about 45 partnership together with our clients. The company itself grew up in Cluj. As Vojko said before, I think we have several failures before. We had one company that was running with one customer. The customer got bankrupt, and we had to close the shop. We started a new business in 2003 with a new team on board, and since then we have continuously growing up. Last year we have reached about revenue about 12 million euros. This year up to now, for the first half, we have a 50% growing comparing with the last year. So we estimate until the end of the year about 30-40% growing for comparing with 2014. So it's a fast growing. The results would be also shown in Deloitte Tops. We've been 4 times in Deloitte Tops for East Europe. So I would say even if we are a Romanian company, we are working for West Europe, which is good, and help us to build a stable and growing company. What's our strategy in the future? First of all, up to now we've been looking for stability. We look all the time to have a stable business, to have a continuous business. We knew from the very beginning, or at least everybody said, okay, outsourcing is going to disappear. Outsourcing is going to disappear. That happens in 2001. I heard this in 2003, in 2005. All the time we hear the same story. But on the other side, now we face a problem recruiting people. The major challenge for us in this moment in Cluj is not finding the customers, but getting people on board. So right now we have this situation. And I see IT growing up everywhere. Everybody wants a software. They want software for computer. They want software for mobile. We are doing software for bikes. We are programming the bikes. There are software for cars, for everywhere. So I think, and it's a high, that there are a lot of engineers which are still missing all over the world on software. So our focus is continuous for growing at this moment, and we would like to manage and improve the performance, but in the same time to add a little bit more innovation. Talking about what's happening now in Fortech, I would say first of thing, we are trying to get on a new level. We are now 500 people. We have a big change in organization, 100 people, that help us to grow very fast from 100 to 500 without a change in organization. Right now, we are in the situation that moving on the next level, we have to invest more in the management. So we are running different management programs inside, planning to rise the skills, to rise the entrepreneurship mindset, and to get new people on board with on our strategy. On the same time, we start consolidating the sales team, one on the technical side, but in the same time having opening offices in other areas, like USA, for example. And having this problem of growing up, we set up a new direction for increasing the delivery centers. Working, for example, now we plan to launch in Iași a new office, because we see a limitation for Cluj market. And one more interesting direction, and that's why I'm here, it's investing in new products. We launch our own products. We launch a lot of initiatives inside the company but in the same time we launch a kind of new initiatives outside of the company. We call it Seed for Tech. It's we face the problem that we don't have companies where we have to invest. The Fortech itself, it's a company that's financially very stable. It's going very well, but in the same time, we would like to invest more in the product business. But we don't have so many initiatives in the software on local market where we have to invest, where we may invest. That's why we say, okay, let's try to create a product builder company, a company where we may came with financial, we may came with software engineering team, and we look for entrepreneur which has experience in a business, and we can set up a kind of partnership together. Right now we have started analyzing 60 startup ideas. We are working now with 10 about close founders, and we are considering 2 investment in progress. This is a kind of seed investment. It's a product builder factory, that's our intention, but we look forward for more investment in the future if things are going well. So we see Fortech now as a stable business going on with a stable growing path, but in the same time we would like to launch more initiatives like Seed for Tech. So we look for partners in the future, we look for business partners, and maybe, I hope, also for more investment in case that the business is taking speed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. Congratulations for your ideas. Very interesting, this Seed for Tech accelerator of new companies. And now, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to play? Because we invite on the stage Mr. Cristi Badea, co-founder Mavenhat, a gaming studio that develops Facebook and mobile games. How many of you do you play on Facebook now?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. My name is Cristi Badea. I'm one of the 3 founders of Mavenhat. So we started Mavenhat 3 years ago in Dublin. I'm gonna circle back to why we started in Dublin just in a couple of minutes. At core, we are a game developer, but luckily for us, we also develop some skills when it comes to game publishing. So this means that we don't necessarily just write the code of our games, but we also market those games ourselves. Right now we're building Facebook games, so we're building web games that are published on Facebook, and also we're building iOS and Android games. So we started 3 years ago in Dublin in 2012. We are part of a business accelerator back then, which was called Startup Bootcamp. It is a part of, Startup Bootcamp is a business accelerator part of Techstars in New York, which is the largest business accelerator network in the world. So back then we just started out with a very simple idea to create simple games. And we are part of that program for 3 months. We met with different mentors. At the end of that program, we actually had a demo day where we met with our investors. So after that, at the end of summer, we were able to raise our very first round, which was with the guys from with a VC company from SOS Ventures, which is a VC company from the United States, a VC company that actually invested in other highly known tech companies such as Netflix or Khan Academy. Right now, so fast forward, we are a team of 30. Everybody is in Bucharest, and at the beginning of this summer, we were one of the top 3 European Facebook game developers. So what are we actually doing? So we're building very simple games, such as the solitaire game that you can find on every single PC out there. The only thing that we have done differently with this specific game mechanic is the fact that we have built a multiplayer version of the game. So this means that in real time you can play together with your friends. As for the business model, it's very simple. 98% of our revenues come from virtual goods. So this means that if, for example, you want to have heads up against your opponent, or if you want to have a certain advantage, you are able to pay and get that advantage. So the prices go somewhere between $1 to packages that cost more than $100. And I've mentioned that this accounts for 98% of our revenues. Only 2% of our revenues come from advertising. What is also really important to mention is the fact that we have a very major stakeholder in our business, which is the platforms. So right now, out of every single dollar that we make, 30 cents goes to the platform. It's the Facebook platform, the iOS, owned by Apple, or Android by Google. So I'm going to share a couple of KPIs. So in the very first year, the growth was outstanding, and it kept growing after that. So we were able to reach more than 1 million users in less than 1 year, which is quite extraordinary for a tech company, especially considering that that happened in the very first year, and we started from scratch. Right now, we're at around 35 million installs, so roughly, give or take, more than 35 million players around the world have played at least one of our games. Demographic of our users are females. 75% of our users are females. Average age is around 42 years old, and most of them are from the United States of America. And also, a really important metric that I want to share with you is the fact that at the beginning of this summer, we were able to hit for the very first time a number of daily active users of more than 1.5 million. Now take a look at this slide. This graph represents the total revenues of the total monthly revenues of our company. As you can see, there was a very slow-paced growth at the beginning, but after that it took off. What is also really important about this slide is the fact that we were involved in a very major transaction at the beginning of the summer, and we were able to sell 2 of our assets. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes to talk to you more about this deal. Solitaire Arena and Solitaire 3 Arena represented more than 60% of our revenues, and we were able to sell these trademarks, and we were able to license the code behind these games. This means that we are able to create more solitaire games from now on. Nevertheless, we are able to do that with much more cash in the bank. As for future plans, right now we're going to focus more on a hyper-growth market, which is the mobile market. The Facebook market is slowly shrinking by each year, so for us it's really important to put all our efforts in a high-growing market. Keep in mind that this is a very cash-hungry industry, so this means that the cost of acquisition actually tripled in the past few years. So for that, take into account the fact that we had a transaction earlier this summer that can help us navigate through our strategy. And obviously, the reason why I'm here is because we're always looking for new financial partners or new business partners. So I want to have a very short summary about everything that I have said in the past 10 minutes. We're a team of 30, we're developing, and also very importantly, we're marketing games, solitaire games, out of a Bucharest office. We have recently closed a really important deal that is going to help us focus more on creating mobile games. And at the end of the day, we'd like to consider ourselves as a high-growth mobile gaming company. This is my email address. I would love to talk to you more, and I would like to share some of our numbers with you. Please drop me a line. I'll be able to answer within 24 hours, and also you can find me here during lunch. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We didn't show any numbers in euro or in dollars, but imagine if we multiply that 1,500,000 users with only 1 cent a day, how much will be the revenues for this company. Amazing, amazing evolution. And now, if we speak about numbers, it's a turn of big numbers, because we invited on the stage one of the biggest players on Romanian integrators, AT&C integrators, a company who looking for 100 million euro in revenues next year, or maybe even this year. We will know Mr. George Stan, Chief Information Officer of Teamnet Group. Welcome.
Hello, Chief Investment Officer. Thank you for inviting us here. It's a good opportunity for us to present one part of our story. We will not talk about the company as a whole. We'll talk about one of the important innovative directions of the company. And to make things more interesting, we brought here an object of our work. You can see a drone in the corner of the room. All of us like to think, to dream about the way the technology is changing our lives. And what we at TeamNet are doing is to bring the future, to bring this technology today in this room and around us in order to bring value to potential customers. There is always a big focus on research on the latest trends, the latest needs, and the new opened markets. And in the recent years, TeamNet invested a lot of work and focus on creating a service based on a mix of technologies from software, GIS, SCADA, drones, and so on. We consider that in the next 5 years, the drone business, we are not talking here about military drone business, we are not talking here about the toys drone business, we are talking about, let's say, the one in the middle, the business drone applications will grow a lot, and services will be oriented in many industries like agriculture, environment, safety, transportation, and so on. There is a high applicability, and worldwide there is a big focus on researching in this field with significant results so far. What we provide, what we do in TeamNet in this field is design of drones and integration of them in larger systems in order not to sell equipment to the client, not to rent equipment to the client, but to sell useful information, to sell decision-making help to our client. And we are able to combine technologies and bring to the client information that can be turned into immediate advantage. Probably one of the most immediate use of the drones is in the emergency situations. Everywhere in the world, people experience difficulties in having fast reactions to events, and many times having information in real time can save lives. Our systems, as you can see, are small, modular, easy to install, easy to deploy, and they are able to bring information from hundreds of kilometers of autonomous flight. We programmed our own automatic pilot, and we are able to gather information. And I'll give you just some examples. In case of a fire, we can use our systems to get real-time images, to identify parameters like areas covered by the fire and outbursts, in order to give more info to the field teams. In a case of an earthquake, you can see very fast to have a quick assessment of the affected areas and identify visible damages. We can use payloads that can see through buildings, they can see the thermal heat and things like that. So we can bring more value. In case of floods or heavy snow, we can get also real-time images, very detailed. We can calculate and make forecasts of the water flows, of the risk areas, and we can help the authorities in this case to have faster reactions. One recent success story for us with the drones, and not with the drones just as the flying systems, but with the entire environment built from equipment, software, services. We delivered in Serbia a very complex system that is helping the authorities to identify problems and to react to problems by using modules like hazardous materials management, resource management, search and rescue, all of this based on our own technology, our own know-how and IP. And this made us the first company in Romania to export UAV or UAS integrated solutions in the region. It's an important step. We are building on it, and we think we have good reasons to be proud of it. So I only showed you. Sorry, this is maybe unreadable, but this is the robotics area here. There's more in TeamNet than robotics and drones. We're doing many things. I just wanted to show one. We had a nice growth of the company, and we had a good development. We have now a very strong position in Romania and in the region. We are also operating in Middle East and North Africa. And we have very interesting and very challenging forecasts for the next years. We have nice opportunities, and together with our recent investors, the World Bank through International Finance Corporation and Black Sea Trade and Development Bank, together with these recent investors in our company, we are building many business lines for the future. And given the context, I would like to mention that one of our, and maybe one of the most important plans for the next years is to list the company by 2020. Thank you very much. Me and my colleagues are here for any details. Thank you.
Thank you. So, an example of Romanian technology. We have here a drone. You can see exists. And now we have a pleasure to invite Mr. Andrei Pitiș, founder and Chief Technology Officer, VectorWatch. Another example of Romanian new power of scientific research and investment in new technology.
Do I need a microphone? Do I have? Okay. Out of respect for your time, because we're a little bit delayed, I'll keep this very short, and I'll make myself available during the break that's going to come shortly. So, out of respect for your time, I'll keep this presentation really short and make myself available in the break that follows for those who are really interested in our product. I'm going to speak about Vector, and actually my speech is going to be about time. Probably if I would ask the question, what's the most important resource in this room, is going, the answer is probably going to be money. Information and money. However, without time, you cannot do anything with either of them. So, time. We started, when we started this company, when we started this product, we realized that our individual connection with time started to change a lot since all the mobile phone, all the smartphone revolution appeared. We started to use a lot of time to look at the phone, to be interrupted, to be distracted from what matters to us, you know, by notifications that sometimes are not important. The wristwatch started to gradually disappear. Younger people started not to wear watches anymore. And we also think that the relationship with time that one creates can also be, is also related to the watch that you have. And, you know, and because we're not in medical research, so we cannot make life longer by making you healthier, we want to be able to offer you something that's going to save you time. So you'll be able to live more in the time that you have. This is how Vector started. And our tagline is what truly matters. It's twofold. We want to give you something so you can do what truly matters for you in the time that you save. And we want to express our opinion for what truly matters in a smartwatch. When we started this almost 2 years ago, there were little, if any, competition. It was like maybe Samsung and Pebble, and you know, a few Chinese knockoffs from the Samsung and the Pebble of the time. And there was no watch where design truly mattered. And we think that nobody would wear, I mean, not a lot of people would wear a watch where that's not built like a watch, that's not a piece of jewelry like for men. This is probably the only piece of jewelry that they're going to wear. Of course, after that, Apple came and they've also designed a beautiful watch. But at the time, we were designing with the help of our creative director, Steve Jarvis, who's been designing for Timex and for Nike, a beautiful piece of jewelry. And these renders don't do any, you know, they're not very good, but you can see the real product on my hand in the break. We also wanted to create a product where that saves you time, not that gives you another gadget that you play with. So instead of having just the phone, you play with your watch as well. No, it's something that gives you actionable information at a glance. You just look and you are safe from distractions. You have the information that matters most to you, like stock tickers, just a glance away. So we created a watch that has time displays that are configurable, where you can use a design that our designer created, and you can put information streams from the mobile app. You can customize the face, so you can have the weather, you can have stock tickers, you can have different time zones, so whatever matters most to you in that moment. For instance, this is an example of how time flows through your day. You can see what intervals are blocked just a glance away, and more importantly, you can see what intervals are open, what time you have to use. We've built a very good discrete notification system that allows you to keep the phone in your pocket, and you can save those moments. Every time a notification comes, you just glance, and and after that, if it doesn't matter to you, just glance away. And we have built a wonderful apps platform that will open to other developers so they can build other interesting things for you in the future. That's going to be open soon. It's not open yet. The product is not launched commercially yet, except in the UK. It's going to be soon launched in the US, and it's going to be soon launched in Romania as well. It also works out of respect for our users, works with all major platforms, Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. And in the app, you'll have the watchmaker that allows you to create your own watch dial. You'll have, of course, the activity. You'll get, steps, calories, sleep quality in the app, and historical graphs. So we believe that, we believe in less annoyance, more convenience, less gadget, more style, less interaction, more relevance, less distraction, more discretion. We believe in the power of time, and we believe that offering all this with a 30-day battery life, so not having to charge it daily like all the other smartwatches, will allow you to have a month after month with more time. So we believe that you don't buy a watch, we believe that by buying Vector, you buy time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And do you have Solitaire on it?
With Christy, yes, soon we'll have Solitaire. This will be the one and only game on this watch.
Very neat. Okay. Thank you very much. Congratulations for this meeting. It's a performance to have 15 speakers in only 2 hours and a half. And now, please, Mr. Sobolewski, have a closing remark, and thank you for invitation here. And remember, my colleague with Zefe Corporate and Zefe English, it's outside, will explain you what do you want on our products.
Thank you. Thank you for this part. We, however, haven't bought enough time to wear these smartwatches yet. So now I would like to close this session. It will be followed by one-on-one meetings between investors and companies. But I think that it was a very good morning, or something like on the edge between morning and the afternoon. Thank you for coming. The attendance was impressive. Thank you for the media to show it and beaming it. And see you next time. Thank you.
Now we'll have one-on-ones for companies and investors who have one-on-ones. They will be upstairs on the left-hand side of the room. And please leave your headsets at the entrance. Thank you.